All right, today is July 8th, 2010. This is Dave Higginbotham interviewing Yvonne Schaefer, I'm sorry. Yvonne Schaefer, Steve Schmidt, and Dave Bailey in Bradford, Pennsylvania. All right, Steve, you got to go back to work, so we'll start with you. If you could just give me, I guess, like an outline of your experience with the gas company, you know, how long you've been here, when they moved in, all that fun stuff.
Let's see, been here since approximately, lived in this house for since about 1996, running on a well system. Well's been very consistent all along through, you know, up until the recent years of 2008. I had a water softener on my well to soften the water that I would usually just let run out of salt for 6 months at a time until my wife would say something, hey, there's something missing in the water, for my hair is a little messed up. So it basically really didn't require a whole lot of anything. I think I found out in August or so of 2008 that they were going to do some drilling activity right up the hill from my house. I got pretty concerned. I contacted the Department of Environmental Protection, asked them some questions prior to all the drilling, and asked, you know, what could happen, you know, what should I do to protect myself. And they mentioned to do a pre-drill sample from a third-party lab, and you know, I was on the fence on that because I called up, it was a microvac. They offered an oil and gas package that would give you a baseline for, you know, some standard parameters, plus methane, ethane, propane, stuff like that. The cost to me was about $371. I was on the fence about spending money out of my pocket to protect myself, but I wound up just go ahead and doing it anyway. And at that time, you know, I established a background, and also the methane, there was absolutely no methane, ethane, propane, anything detected. Oh, it's mine.
I know it can't.
And so there was nothing in the back. There was absolutely, it was less than 0.01 parts per million, so it was just not, flat out not there. That was taken prior to drilling. The drilling began shortly thereafter, I think in September of '09, and I didn't notice anything right there and then, but they were kind of poking holes all over the hill. I guess they have 26 wells drilled up on the hill. In October, early October 2009, I noticed some clarity issues with my water.
So can I stop you? Are they all the wells been fracked? Are they
not at this time?
Some are still straight
no,
wells?
these were just drilled at this time.
And this was 08?
This is October. Well, they were drilled in early, October, September. They staggered them, but right around in late 2008. Mm-hmm. So I noticed some clarity issues with that, and a week went by, and I was told by DEP that could happen, so I wasn't too majorly concerned. It kind of seemed to be settling down, and then on, I forget what date, like a week after that happened, then I ran out of water. And then I started running out of water consistently every day. So I had to keep shutting my well off, because once it sucks air, it won't prime itself again. Mm-hmm. So I immediately called a well company to come out and take a look, and also I called the DEP to come out and investigate. DEP drew samples, and that's when they found, I forget how many parts per million, but the highest point was 16.8 parts per million of methane. They found ethane, they found propane. Found all that in my well. Plus they had a meter. They checked free gas in the bore, and they found free gas in the bore of the well. So they started their investigation. Meantime, I ran barely able to fill a bathtub of water for my children. Just constantly sitting there turning, you know, that was my new life.
Were you guys having the same water issue, like lack of water?
Not yet.
Not yet?
No.
Where's your house? Right behind. Oh, we're at it.
Yeah, and it's my well is right over here, and his well is right there at Dave's. And
So
was
like
our original
300 feet, and you had water and you didn't.
Yeah, and they're approximately the same depth.
Yeah.
And through testing, and what we found out was they had no cement returns on their well casing, and the DEP also found out that they overpressured two specific wells. It was wells number 70 and 71. So they relieved the pressures to those wells. Then they came back and resampled my methane, and it dropped in half. The free gas went away.
So there was, where the water wasn't, the methane filled that space?
Well, it was just getting into the aquifer.
Right.
So it was getting, two strikes against them. They had no cement return. The cement return is supposed to protect the aquifer. So they knew they didn't have that. The driller knew that. And then to overpressure it on top of that, that's just two things that are just bad that you can ever do to a well. Mm-hmm. If they didn't overpressure them, they might not have had an issue. But since they did both of those things, that's why, the methane migration. Now, I didn't really need to have a pre-drill because it was obvious what happened. The story just goes bad because I finally got a determination letter in December of 2008 saying that the driller was responsible for my water supply. Now, it was, affected by drilling activity, but I didn't get a new well drilled until February of 2009. The driller, they were just lying, they were just pulling your chain, they were just doing whatever they could do just to keep it going.
For like 3 months?
Yeah, and again, back to me having to sit there and barely fill a tub and just living with this funky water. It's pretty frustrating, and that's all on my shoulders. Nobody did anything. They started providing bottled water. That's pretty much the only thing they did. So I had to deal with all that until I actually got a new well drilled at their expense. And again, I was in contact with my water well driller, and this oil company was not paying their bill and everything else. So it continues. The biggest thing is on the original well that I was running, and I didn't find out this till later, and this is going to be a big flaw in the system here, is they fracked those two wells, 70 and 71, in January of 2009. So this was still on my original well. Now, I didn't know they fracked it. I don't know anything about this stuff at the time. They don't have to write their reports until X amount of days afterwards. Not only did they not do that, they got 2 different notice of violations for not turning in reports. So they didn't afford the DEP any of this information either.
Yeah.
Now, I told the DEP, I also told Mike Schreiner from Schreiner Oil and Gas, he was out in my driveway. I said, you guys need to test for bacteria or something, because in January, all this stuff grew in my toilet tanks, and all kinds of rings, and I clean I get the duty of cleaning my bathroom, and I clean it once a week. It's spotless, and that's usually on the weekend. Monday, or I think it was like a Monday, but all this stuff was growing. There was like rings of stuff in the tank and in the bowl. I mean, it was obvious something happened. It was like a brownish color. Mm. I didn't know what's going on. I just figured it was still we're still on the original well with no water, and I just figured it was more mess. But again, I didn't have this information just until a couple months ago in 2010 when I did a file review with the DEP. I said somebody needs to test for bacteria, somebody needs to test for whatever, because I didn't know if fracking happened yet. And the driller looked at DEP like, well, are you going to do that for me? And they did. But they only tested for coliform and fecal. They didn't test for heterotrophic plate count. Now, coliform and fecal is the only thing they consider not safe. So, but through my testing, I was having...
It's a pig farm up there, right?
Yeah, it's a mess. So, I started having issues. They put in the well in February 2009. Then they came back and tested it to figure out what's going on and what they're going to have to treat for. And then it just continued the mess from there. They hired a local company to come in. They decided to put a new water softener on and a small RO system for one spigot on my sink upstairs in the kitchen. So they put the softener on.
Was the understanding that that's the only place you should drink from?
Yeah. And I said, wait a minute now. I said, I have one source of drinking water in this house. I said, what about my bathroom sink? What about, I have two bathrooms. What about, what am I supposed to do? Everybody's supposed to go huddle around this one little source of drinking water. And I said, you know what? I have a special needs son that drinks out of the bathtub and everything else. And bottom line is, every bit of water in this house has to meet drinking water standards. I said, this is, it's unacceptable. And, they kind of agreed. And this was early in 2009, but nothing happened. They continued, and actually DEP, they tested it for their 15 parameters or so, plus the methane, ethane, and they said that RO met drinking water standards. Now, they said that, but it hasn't met all the primary drinking water standards. I started drinking from that, and I got violently ill for about a week. Vomiting, diarrhea, you name it. It was a disaster. I didn't let the kids or my wife drink from it, and I stopped drinking from it.
How many days did you drink from it before you got sick?
Like a day or two.
And then you just...
It was immediate, yeah.
Did doctors tell you what the deal was? Or?
No, I never went to the doctors at that point. I have had other issues. Come to find out, beginning of 2009, when the fracking happened, my wife has some feminine issues that she's dealing with that she's never had before. My one cat lost all its hair, and this cat drinks from, my wife was still letting it drink out of a sink upstairs from an upstairs bathroom.
Is that cat still alive?
Yeah, that cat still is alive.
Can I take a picture? Or do you just have that?
No, you won't be able to find the cat. It's a hiding cat.
Okay.
It took forever for the cat to actually get its hair back and stuff like that. I had another cat that developed some cancer, a cancerous tumor. Since all this, we've had that removed. I have a spastic colon now that wasn't there prior. It's ongoing, all these issues, and I have a taste issue that started with all this and has not gone away yet.
You can't taste, or
it's like a tingling, on my tongue, and sometimes it's worse. It actually started in the shower. Mm-hmm. I would notice it after I got out from showering, and I started questioning that, and I questioned VOCs, because VOCs are released into the atmosphere when they're when you're in a shower. I said that there's a problem, and I did eventually get DEP to test for VOCs. But it was 66 of them, so it's not every VOC out there. The drilling company's not saying they really used anything up on the hill. They're saying
they don't legally have to tell you what they used.
Well, they did tell the DEP. They said they used some kind of it was the proppant, the sand, and then there was a friction reducer.
And then there's the frac fluid, the stuff they put in there. They don't.
But
proprietary
that was
blends.
It. Yeah, they haven't. They didn't say they used anything else. Yeah. Now the DEP questioned them because we were having fire, water you can light on fire next door. So they really were kind of hammering on them, but they didn't offer any other information that I'm aware of. But they really don't know what to test for. Mm-hmm. So you're kind of at a loss.